Hey there, teacher friends. It's Ashley here from Lovely Commotion. Let's talk student connections, shall we? This is something I am huge on. If you were in the classroom management series this summer in the Lovely Preschool Teachers Facebook group, you know that I am a big advocate of relationships. So let's talk about them. So let's jump back into when we were in school. So let's think about like a time in school that stands out to you. When you think back on school, you think back on all those years you were there, right? What is something that stands out to you? Many of us might say a certain class, a certain subject, but many times, what does it come back to? It comes back to a teacher, right? Or maybe even more than one teacher if we've been super blessed. A teacher who saw you, a teacher who made you feel special, a teacher who taught in a unique way, took the time to help you and guide you. Those are the people we remember from school. Teachers are the backbone of schools. Without them, we don't have this wonderful thing called a school environment, right? And so teachers are the ones that make it meaningful. No textbook can do that. Teachers are the ones that guide and care. We are that human connection inside the world of learning. So obviously, building student connections is hugely important because it can change kids' lives, right? We've heard it over and over again from people who have come out of school and they say, if it wasn't for my teacher, then this wouldn't have happened, right? We have such a huge impact on students. So building those positive connections is absolutely where it's at, right? Nobody says, I loved this school teacher because she, forgot my name. No, it's those connections that we build together, right? I actually remember one of the teachers that I disliked the most called us by numbers. I'm in middle school. She would not call us by names. We had computer numbers, and she refused to learn our names. And even back then, I was like, wow, that is awful. And I felt like a number. Obviously, I was. And, I still think back to that time and think about the feelings I had in that class, and they weren't good ones, right? She didn't see us. She didn't want to see us. And so that is obviously the opposite of creating a positive relationship and a positive connection. But then you go back to those other teachers that did see you and that asked about you specifically, right? How are you doing today? They know a little bit about you and you feel seen. And that's what makes that connection. And then you literally will go to the moon and back for them, right? Because they know you. And so that's what we want for our kiddos. We want that connection where they're like, she's so got my back. I'm not even worried. This school thing, I love it because she's here and I know that she will always be here for me and she helps me even when it's hard and she never stops caring about me even when I maybe don't make the right decisions. That's what we want, right? Because they're going to be eager learners when we have that. So let's talk about some simple ways that we can build student connections. Because building these relationships should be our first and most important objective when we welcome them into our classroom. I believe it so much that, even a couple weeks ago in a video I did, I talked about 3 R's. Relationship is one of those 3 R's. And I actually put on my lesson plan. I am playing with children to build relationships for the first couple weeks. That's what I'm doing during a small group. It's that important to me that I write it down and make sure it gets done. And I don't necessarily think of it as a checkoff thing because here's the thing. Some of them are easy to build and some of them are not. Some of them take a very long time and a lot of energy, and some of them come very naturally. That's just the way of the world, right? But I always want to make sure that I'm starting off the year on the right foot by really digging into those relationships. So when you're kind of starting at 0, the best way to grow them is through play, right? When we're working with preschoolers and their mode of learning is play, Why don't we insert ourselves into that? Not insert ourselves in a way, obviously, that's like taking over their play, but that's complementing their play and that's kind of getting to know them and kind of, oh, I really like giraffes. Do you like giraffes? This one time I saw a giraffe at the zoo. And then, we kind of build some of those commonalities. And that's how relationships are built, right? On commonalities. So we can start talking to them during play. We can play with them. They feel that, right? They feel that, oh, she cares enough to sit next to me and play with me. And that is hugely important. So let's talk about other ways we can build relationships too. It doesn't have to take a lot of time every day, but it may take a lot of time overall, if that makes sense. So it may not take a lot of time, but it may take time. So here's some things you can do. I love to provide a survey at the beginning of the year for parents because it kind of feels like I get like a little leg up on their likes and dislikes up front. Like I'm already hearing it from the source. They obviously know their child better than anyone. And so I can hear from them like, is there anything I need to stay away from? Right? Is there something that they're scared of that I definitely need to know because I don't want to obviously be evoking that fear? What do they really like? So can I go ahead and connect on that? I can take a like from that list and we can talk about that, right? So I can take that like from that list and when I go sit down and play, I can either say, your mom told me you like this, or do you like animals? What is your favorite animal? Because she put animals on the list or he put animals on the list, whatever it might be. So I can kind of take that and kind of have a little bit of prior knowledge. Also, sometimes parents will give you helpful information about things that might be going on at home, things that maybe like, they're having a rocky time right now because mom went back to work full time, or maybe they're having a rocky time because they've had a death in the family, or, many different things that you can kind of already understand where that child is coming from. Another thing, make a point to learn their siblings' names and their most important family members, even pets, right? Because I so often they're like, how do you know them? I paid attention, right? We actually have it on one of our forums. Do you have any siblings that live with you? Things like that. Who lives in your household? And it's helpful, right? Because I can already know, like, you have a sister that's in first grade, and I can already understand that. I personally have sisters that were quite a bit older than me, so I had different influences than some of my peers. Not bad ones, but an older, more mature influence than my peers with younger siblings. So knowing that, super helpful. And then it's kind of like, oh, you know me? You know me? We had dogs come in the pickup line, and so, oh, who's your doggy? And so then we could later talk about the dog in the classroom when maybe we've read a book about dogs, right? So we're always trying to tie it back, but it's so important to start learning some of those names. They're going to want to be writing them, right? They're going to want to be drawing them, and so you can assist in that. This next one is super duper important to me, and it's be present. When children come to you, even for something small, we need to see them, right? I don't know if you've ever been talking to someone and their head is buried in their phone and you feel like the furthest thing from important to them. And that's kind of the same idea behind being present. I know that I have got 5 million things going on in my head and maybe multiple things going on at one time, especially when we're working with young children. But I try my very best and keep in the front of my mind, put whatever that is down and pay attention. And sometimes it's just, look what I did. But to them, it's big. To us, it may be, oh, you've done that a million times. Yes, I see it. Great. But to them, it's still big. And to them, they're still looking for you and your approval and your love. And so we need to make sure we're giving that freely. And we need to make sure that we're being present. Sometimes we don't even realize that we're not being present. And because I've seen it so many times of, going up, pulling on a teacher's shirt, look, and it's like, oh, great. And that's all they got out of it, or totally ignoring altogether. And I just know how that feels from a personal standpoint, and you can kind of almost see it in their faces when you're back away and watching it from afar of, that was an opportunity for connection and it just passed, and they may not give you another one for a while because that didn't feel good to them. And so I've seen it enough to know that that's the last thing I want for my kids to feel when they come to me. And so I make it an absolute must to stop what I'm doing and be present. Am I perfect at it all the time? No, but it's certainly something that I put as a very big priority, because there's nothing that's going to make them feel more special and connected than you being present and paying attention to them, right? Another one I love to do is greet students by name every morning, invite them into the classroom. I know that they're, some days they're showing up every day, but it's important to acknowledge their presence. And many times I like to say, come on in, we've been waiting for you. Or, if they've missed class, I try to put that in there. We missed you. I'm so glad you're better, right? All those things are just saying, you're important to me. I noticed you weren't here. And that's building a connection right there. I also love, yay, you're here. Yay, you're here. Oh my goodness, I'm so glad you're here, right? When do we get to hear that very often? We need to hear that. We need to hear, yay, you're here. And so that's another one that I love to do that takes me no time at all, right? But I truly mean it. I am glad you're here, and I want you to know that. And so I'm going to say it. Another one, conversations about likes and dislikes over lunch. This is kind of a fun one. We all sit in our classroom to eat, and so I get that opportunity to sit down with them. And, they love to play the raise your hand if you, this game, right? And it's kind of a silly time, and they kind of maybe sometimes get a little bit riled, but it's amazing what it does for community building, because, even later in the year, they'll be like, remember that time that our friend said this and we all laughed? It's that more community building. And then I can kind of start learning some more dislikes and likes and kind of bring that back into the classroom the best that I can. So that's a fun one. Hanging up students' work, obviously showing that they're valuable and that their work is valuable. That's a super easy one that we all tend to do. But what I like to do too is ask them, where would you like me to put it, right? Is it going to be pretty all over the walls? Maybe not. But where would you like me to put it, right? Show me where you'd like me to put it. Or can I put it right here? I really want to be able to look at this when I come in the room or whatnot, right? Making it just a little more special. Give compliments often. There is no top and limit to giving them those words, right? And so I try to move past good job. Sometimes it still flies out of my mouth every once in a while, but I try to praise their amazing qualities. Wow, you worked really hard. Wow, that is so creative. I would have never thought of that. That was amazing, right? Really giving those deeper compliments, because that's praising their qualities, not just what they look like, right? Or just a good job, because we tend to give that so much that it has kind of lost its luster. Another one I love to do is play board games together, because nothing brings people together better than games, right? It's been done for years and years and years. And so one great way is to get lots of kids around the table and play a game together. I love using cooperative games, because then there's no winner and loser, or basically we're all winners or we're all losers. And so that's helpful with the preschool space, but it's just another one of those connections. And many times they'll say, can we play that game again? That was super fun. And so when I hear that, I'm reading, we had a good time together, right? We had a good time together. Playing on the playground with the kids, I, very much take safety as a very important thing. And so I like to make sure that my eyes are everywhere, trying to keep people safe. But every once in a while, if maybe my numbers are down, I have a little bit of lower class sizes, not all the time, every once in a while, we get a little playful, and then can kind of see that kid side in me too. And nothing draws a child to you more than being silly and being playful, nothing. So if you can channel your inner preschooler and just be crazy silly, they're automatically going, oh, she gets me, right? They may not say that out loud, but they're like, oh, she's crazy, she's silly, she's fun. And I can totally relate to that, right? Because that's where they are. That's where they are. And we can all, oh my goodness, just kind of makes you a little bit lighter by being playful and silly. So we can definitely learn that from children, right? Giving hugs, non-COVID, high fives, smiles, all these great things that we, physically show that we care for them is another way. Telling them how much we miss them. We talked about that. Sending home positive notes about each child. I love doing this. I love just every once in a while going, oh my goodness, thank you for sharing your child with me. It was so great to watch them do this today or learn this today. Or it was so amazing to see your child be somebody's advocate, be a friend's advocate, or play with a friend that was new. So many things you can say. And sometimes we have to dig deeper for those things to say, but they're there. They're there if you look, right? And so sharing that with them, making a habit of telling students what you love about them. And this is kind of hard for them to grasp because they're kind of like, oh, okay, great. But sometimes we'll sit around the circle time and we'll tell people, we'll practice giving sincere compliments, right? And so I tell them what I love about you is, right? I love that you have a kind heart and you always help your friends. Again, praising those qualities of that child. And it's just like a beam, right? A beam of light, because they're like, you see me, that is me, right? That is who I am. And if they've heard some language in the past that maybe was negative of, you're bad, or they're always getting this negative language, or why are you such a pain? And, those things that sometimes adults say when we're frustrated, we need to give them more of the compliments to overcome. Because what do they say? It's like 10 positives to equal one negative statement. And so if we can get in the habit of being another person in that child's life to raise up those positives, we're really working on some self-esteem there, and we're building that connection. And then the last one, just speaking kindly. Sometimes it's a lot. Teaching preschool is a lot. There's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of moving bodies. And some days are rough. It's just the way it is. Some days are rough. But we always have to keep in our minds that they are 3, 4, and 5 after all. They are not big. They have not been on this planet for very long. They haven't learned all the things. And sometimes we have our own expectations in our head and we forget that, right? We forget you're just little. And so it's something I say to myself all the time. You're little. Like, I have to say, I don't say it to them. Obviously, they don't like to hear that they're little. They think they're big. But in my head, you are little. You are new. You are fresh. And so I can help shape how you speak to others. I can help shape who you are with my words. And so I always speak kindly, even when we're mad, even when we're upset, taking that deep breath and maybe saying it in a mama bear tone, but it's not hateful language, right? It's not go away. It's not stop. You've been horrible all day. It's none of those things, because those things stick. So it's so important that we speak kindly to our students. And when we speak kindly to our students, they're going to have that respect and love for us, because they know, like, she values me as a person and she speaks kindly to me, and they're humans too. So they deserve that as well. And it may become overwhelming, but more than not, nothing is an emergency, right? Unless it was an emergency, maybe then you'll hear my yelling voice. But just take the time to take a step back and say, am I speaking kindly to this student? Am I filling them up? Or am I maybe adding to the negative language that might have already been placed in their head? So we can be those touch points. So all those things, lots of them. You don't have to do them all. You can pick and choose. You can do these over the year. You can just maybe pick one, right? Like, I am going to sit down and play with students for the first 2 weeks of school. I am going to greet every child by their name in the morning and tell them that I'm glad to see them. Like, you can start small and kind of get yourself into the habit of verbalizing how you feel about students. Because honestly, the ones that grow organically are the ones that really matter, and they may not come easy, and that's okay. if they don't come easy, that's not a reflection on us. It's just a reflection of the situation, and that's okay, right? It may feel like you're building on the entire year, and that's okay too. It is what it is. Just keep going. I love getting to know the way that God made these kids, because it's super interesting to see these amazing little beings for who they truly are, because as we know, they have not been jaded by society yet, hopefully, and we can kind of really see who they are and get to know that. And nothing fills my bucket more than seeing that. And side note, a bonus is that those relationships can result in less defiant behavior. So this ties directly into classroom management. Why? Because they trust you. They know you love them. They feel that level of caring from you, and they don't want to let you down, right? They may know that I can push her a little bit, but when push comes to shove, she cares enough about me to put the time in. Right? She cares enough about me to not just go away. She cares enough about me to figure out what's really going on with me. And while they cannot verbalize most of that, that's what's going on. And so that's a win-win, right? Like, I'm having these great relationships, which is helping build them up, which is helping their love of school, which is in turn helping less defiant behaviors. Awesome, right? And you know that you've gotten there when you have a situation, and I know you probably all have been there, where another parent or a colleague sees this child and they say, whoa, like that looks like a handful, or I bet you're ready for them to move on to the next grade or whatnot. And you immediately have a reaction of, no, you don't know him or her. If you immediately have that, you have that connection in that relationship, because you've seen them for who they really are, and you're not committing a suicide like they are, right? They are assuming from what they see that they know that this is what is the cause, but you've looked deeper. And so if you've gotten to that point where you feel like, hey, you don't know this kiddo, so just back up. Like if your mama bear kind of wants to come out and go, you don't know. You've got those connections, and you're doing something amazing, because you obviously know that kiddo. So let me know in the comments. I'm always super interested to hear, like, have you had these similar experiences? Is this just me that goes into this mama bear, like, I know this child, I've gone to this deeper level with them. Have you had those experiences? How do you feel about student connections? Like, where do you put a lot of emphasis on them? Do you feel like maybe you could do a little bit better? I feel like I'm always able to set my goal a little bit higher, right? I'm always able to be better. And so I always like to kind of set my own personal, I've got these things down, but I want to try doing this better this time. And when it comes to student connections, I really, really am trying harder to make a habit of telling them what I love about them consistently. And that is not a natural thing for me. And so I think that's why it probably is more challenging, but I know it's important because I've seen what it can do. And so that's my goal for myself. And I would absolutely love to hear your goal for yourself and pushing yourself to make student connections. And even if it's just starting, very super simply, it's always so great. So we can kind of help each other, build each other up, and encourage each other, and be accountability of how's that student connection going. So I would love for you to drop a comment. Let me know. What are you working on with it? Were these helpful? Do you have those mama bear moments too? And I'm not alone. Love to hear all the things. So drop me a comment. And next week I will see you again on a Sunday. So thanks for joining me. We'll see you later. Bye.